尊敬的习近平主席，
Your Excellency
尊敬的
President Xi Jinping,
各位国家元首、
Excellencies, Heads of
政府
State
首
and
脑、
Government,
王室代表，
Your Royal Highness,
尊敬的各位国际组
Your
织负责人，
Excellencies, Heads of International
尊敬的
Organizations
各代表团团
and
长，
Heads of Delegations,
各位嘉宾、
distinguished
女士们、
guests,
先生们，
ladies and
朋
gentlemen,
友们，
friends,
上午好！
good morning.
欢迎大家出
Welcome
席
to
首
the
届
opening
中
ceremony
国
of
国
the
际
first
进口博
China
览会
International
及
Import
虹
Expo
桥国际
and
经贸
Hongqiao International Economic and Trade Forum.
举办中国国际进口博览
The
会，
CIIE
是习近平主席
is
亲自谋
an
划、
initiative
亲自
by
提出、
President Xi
亲自
Jinping.
部署推动的，是中国主动
It is
向
a
世
major
界
policy
开放市
statement
场的
and action
重大
taken by
政策
China
宣
to
示
open up
和
its
行动，
market to the world.
彰显了新时代中
It
国进一步
demonstrates China's
博大开
resolve
放的
and
决心
confidence
和信心，
about further
为
opening
经济全球
opening
化
up
注入
in a
了
new
新
era
的能量，
to inject fresh impetus to economic globalization.
得到了
In the
国
run-up
际社会的
to
热
the
烈响
Expo,
应。
we have
积极支
received
持
warm response and active support from the international community, for which we are really grateful.
本届进口博览会由展
The
会和
CIIE
论
consists
坛
of two
两
parts,
部分组
the
成。
Expo and the Forum.
展会包括
The
国
Expo
家贸易投
includes
资
national
综合展
exhibition
和企业
and
商业
business
展，
exhibition.
其中国家贸易投资综合展
Countries
将
will
展示
showcase
各国的国家形
their
象、
national
发展
profile,
成就
development
和贸易
achievements,
投
and
资利益的
latest
最
progress
新进展。
in trade and investment,
企业商业展
while
将
companies
展示
from
来
around
自
the world
全球的
will
优质
present
产品
their proud
和服务。
products and services.
进口博览
During
会期间
the
还将举行
CIIE,
虹桥国际
there will also
经贸
be
论
an
坛
Hongqiao International Economic and Trade Forum
贸易
and 3 parallel sessions on trade and openness, trade and innovation, and
来
trade
自
and
全球
investment.
的政界、工商界、
Political,
学术界精英
business, and
进论坛
academic
并将
leaders
就
from
激
around the
发
world will
全
attend the
球贸易
fora
新活力，共创开
to
放
have
共赢新
discussions
格局
surrounding the
这一
theme
主
of
题
spurring
进行
new
深入探讨。
vitality of global trade and creating
首
an
先
open and
让
win-win
我们
scenario.
以热烈的
So
掌
first,
声
I suggest that we
有请
give
中
a
国
round
国
of
家
warm
主
applause
席
to
习
welcome
近平阁
His
下
Excellency
宣
President
布
Xi Jinping
首届
onto the
中国国际
stage
进口博
to
览会
announce
开
the
幕
opening
并发
of
表
the first
主持演讲。
CIIE and Hongqiao International Economic and Trade Forum and deliver a keynote speech. Your Excellencies, Heads of
政府首脑、
State and Government,
王室代表、
Your Royal Highness,
尊敬的各位国际组织
Your
负责人
Excellencies, Heads of international
尊
organizations,
敬的各代表团团
Your
长、
Excellencies, Heads of
各位来宾、
delegations, distinguished
女士们、
guests,
先
ladies
生
and
们、
gentlemen,
朋友们。
friends.
2017年5月，
In May 2017,
我宣布
I
中国
announced
将从
China's
2018年
decision
起举办
to
中国
hold
国际
the
进口
China
博览会
International Import Expo starting from 2018.
1年多的
Today,
筹备，
after more than 1 year of preparations
在各方大力支持下，
and with the strong support from
现在
various parties, the first
首届中国国际进口博览会正式
is officially
开幕了。
opened.
首先，
At the outset,
我仅代表中国政府
I wish to
和
express
中国人民，
on behalf of the government
并
and
以
people
我
of
个
China,
人的名义，
and also in my own
对
name,
各位嘉宾的到来
warm
表示
welcome,
热烈的欢迎。对来自五大洲
sincere
的
greetings,
各方朋友，
and best wishes
是以诚挚的问候
to friends
和
coming
良好
from
的祝愿。
all over the world.
中国国际进口博览会
The CIIE is the first import expo held at the national level. This is indeed an innovation in the history of global trade. It is an important decision made by China to pursue a new round of high-standard opening up. It is also China's major initiative to still widen its market access for the rest of the world. It demonstrates China's consistent position of supporting the multilateral trading system and promoting free trade. It is a concrete action taken by China to advance an open world economy and support economic globalization. Under the theme of New Era, Shared Future, the first CIIE will help friends from around the world to seize the opportunities presented by China's development in a new era and offer a platform for us to deepen international business cooperation for shared prosperity and progress. Attending this event are 172 countries, regions, and international organizations, more than 3,600 companies, with a total exhibition area of 300,000 square meters, and over 400,000 Chinese and foreign buyers who are here to explore business deals. I wish all friends participating in this expo a most pleasant and rewarding experience. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, the world is going through a new round of major development, transformation, and adjustment. The economic and social well-being of countries in the world is increasingly interconnected. The reform of the global governance system and the international order is picking up speed. On the other hand, the world economy is going through profound adjustment, and protectionism and unilateralism are resurging. Economic globalization faces headwinds, and multilateralism and the system of free trade are under threat. Uncertainties and instabilities still abound, and risks and challenges are growing. Living in such a complex world, we need to see the underlying trend, boast confidence in our future through opening up and cooperation, and work together to cope with risks and challenges. Around the world, people with vision would agree that economic globalization, as an irreversible trend of history, has greatly boosted global growth. This is an overarching trend, something that is independent of people's will. What we, mankind, can do is to understand, adapt to, and apply the law of history instead of trying to prevent it from happening. The wheel of history, indeed, will keep rolling forward no matter what. History tells us that openness and cooperation are a major driving force behind dynamic international economic and trade activities. The current situation also calls for openness and cooperation to foster steady global recovery. Looking ahead, openness and cooperation will remain essential for continued human progress. A great vision, simple and pure, requires credible actions. Given the profound shifts in the international political and economic landscapes, the vision for a better world for all calls on countries to act with greater courage and actively champion openness and cooperation in order to secure shared development. It is important for all countries to open wider and expand the space for mutually beneficial cooperation. Openness brings progress, while seclusion leads to backwardness. Global trade and investment are driven by the need of countries for mutual exchange and complementarity. The history of trade and economic cooperation testifies to the law that economies make progress together through exchange and interconnectivity while falling behind because of seclusion and closeness. Efforts to reduce tariff barriers and open wider will lead to interconnectivity in economic cooperation and global trade, while the practices of beggaring thy neighbor, isolation, and seclusion will only result in trade stagnation and an unhealthy world economy. Countries need to pursue an open policy, explicitly oppose protectionism and unilateralism, and strive to enhance the level of opening up at both multilateral and bilateral levels, so that we could make our economies interconnected and build an open world economy. We need to improve macroeconomic coordination and reduce negative spillovers of national policies to jointly promote global growth. We need to establish a set of global economic and trade rules that is fair, reasonable, and transparent, and promote trade and investment liberalization and facilitation to make the global economy more open through greater exchanges and integration. It is important for all countries to pursue innovative growth and speed up the transformation of growth drivers. Innovation is the premier engine for development. Only with bold innovation and reform can we break the bottlenecks in global growth. The world economy has just emerged from the shadow of the international financial crisis, and recovery is still unstable. There is an urgent need for concerted efforts of countries around the world to promote scientific innovation and foster new growth drivers. The well-being of humanity is the biggest driving force for scientific innovation. In this interconnected global village, to share the fruit of innovation is the common aspiration and natural choice of the world community. We need to seize the opportunities presented by the new round of technological and industrial revolution, strengthen cooperation in frontier sectors such as digital economy, artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology, and work together to foster new technologies, new industries, and new forms and models of business. It is important for all countries to pursue inclusive development for the benefit of all. As the Chinese saying goes, all flowers in full blossom make a beautiful spring. To lead a happy life is a shared aspiration of people all over the world. Progress of human society requires continued efforts of all countries to advance opening up, cooperation, and a win-win development instead of seclusion, confrontation, and monopoly. In a world of deepening economic globalization, practices of the law of the jungle and winner takes all only represent a dead end. An inclusive growth for all is surely the right way forward.
各国应该超越差异，
Countries need to rise above differences and leverage their respective strengths to pursue inclusive growth in the face of common risks
共同面临
and challenges.
风险和挑战。落实2030
We need to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, reduce the imbalances in global development, and make economic globalization more open, inclusive, balanced,
共赢，
and beneficial for all.
让各国人民共
This way, people of all countries will be able to sharing the benefits of economic globalization and global growth.
女士们、先生们、朋友们，
Ladies and gentlemen,
改革开放
friends,
40年来，
the last 4 decades of reform and opening up in
自
China
力更生，
has been an epic journey for the Chinese
砥
people.
砺前行，依靠自己的
With
辛勤和
determination
汗
and
水
through
书写了国家
self-reliance
和
and
民族
hard
发
work,
展的
we have forged ahead on the road to national development and
同
progress.
时，中国坚
China
持
has
打开国
pursued
门，
development with its door open
实现了
and succeeded in transforming a closed and semi-closed economy into a fully open economy.
开放已经成为当代中
Openness
国的
has become
鲜明标
a
志。
trademark of China.
中国不断扩大对外开放，
China has grown by embracing the world, and the world
也造福了
has
世界
also benefited from China's opening up.
今年4月，
As I
我
explained
在
at the
博鳌亚
Boao
洲
Forum
论
for
坛的
Asia
年会开幕式
last
上说
April,
过去40年，中国
China's
经济发展
economic growth
是
over
在
the
开
past
放条
40
件下
years
取得的。
has been achieved with a
未来
commitment
中国
to
经济
opening
实
up.
现高质
In
量
the
发
same
展，
vein, high-quality development of
必须在
China's
更加
economy in
开放
the
的条件
future
下进
can
行。
only be guaranteed with greater
我多次
openness.
强调，
I have made it clear
中国
once
开
and
放的大
again
门
that
不会关
China's
闭，
door will never be
只会
closed.
越
It
开
will
越大。
only open still wider.
中国推动
China
更
will
高
not
水平开
stop
放的
its
脚步。
efforts to pursue higher quality opening up.
中国推
China
动
will not stop its
建设
effort
开放
to
型世
pursue
界
an
经济
open
的
world
脚步
economy.
不会停止。中国推
And
动
China will
构
not
建人类
stop
命运
its
共同体
effort
的脚
to
步
pursue a community with a shared future for mankind. China will unswervingly follow a win-win strategy of opening up,
实现高水平的
adopt
贸易和投资
high-quality
自由化
policies to advance trade and investment liberalization and
推动形
facilitation,
成陆海
and move
内
toward
外联动
nationwide opening up
东
that
西双向
coordinates
互济的
the coastal and
开放
inland areas and connects the eastern and western
中国
regions.
将始终是全
China
球
will
共同
remain
开
a
放的
strong
重要推动者
advocate of openness at the
中国
global
将
level
始终是世
and
界
will
经济
continue
增
to
长
act
的
as a
稳定
stable
动
engine
力源。
of global growth.
中国将始终
A
是各
big
国拓展
market
商机的
with enormous
活力大市
opportunities
场。中国将
and
始终是
an active
全球
supporter
治理改革
of
的
global
积
governance
极贡献
reform.
者。为进一步扩大
To
开
broaden
放，
its opening up,
中国
China will step
将
up
在以
efforts
下几方面
in the following
加
aspects.
大推进力度。第一，
First,
激发
we
进
will
口潜力。
stimulate the potential for increased
中
imports.
国主动扩大进口，
China's initiative to expand
不是权宜之计，
imports is not a
而是
choice of
面向世界，
expediency. It
面
is
向
a
未来，
future-oriented
促
step
进共同发
taken
展
to
的
embrace the world
长
and
远考
promote
量。
common development.
中国将顺应
To meet the trend of
国内
consumption
消费升
upgrading,
级趋势，采取
we
更
will
加积
take
极有
more
效的政策
proactive
措施，
measures to increase
促进
people's income
居民收入增加，
and
消费能力
their
增
spending
强，
power,
培育中高端
foster
消
new
费
growth
新
areas
增
of
长点，
medium high-end consumption,
持续释放国内市场潜力，
continue to unleash the potential of
扩
the
大
domestic
进口空
market,
间。
and expand the scope for imports.
中国将进一步降低关税，
We will take further steps to lower
提
tariffs,
升通关便利化水平，
facilitate customs clearance,
削减进口环节制度性
reduce
成本，
institutional costs in import,
加快
and
跨
step
境
up
电子商务、
cross-border e-commerce
新业
and
态
other new
新模
forms
式发
and
展。
models of business.
中国有
China has
13亿多
a big
人口的
market
大市场，
of over 1.3 billion
中国
people,
真诚向各国
and it is our sincere commitment to open the
中
Chinese
国国际进
market.
口博览会
The CIIE,
不仅要
an event
年年办下
to
去，
be held on an annual
而
basis,
且要办出水
will
平，
feature good
办出成
performance,
效，
good
越
results,
办
and
越好。
continued success in the years to come.
第二，持续放宽
Second,
市场准入。
we will continue to broaden market access.
4月份我宣布的
The
放
market
宽市
access
场准入
measures
各
I
项举
announced
措，
Last
目
April
前已基本落地。
have been basically put in place.
中国已经进一步精简
China
了
has shortened
外商投
the
资准
negative
入，
list on foreign investment
减少投资限
to
制，
reduce investment
提升投
restrictions
资自由化水平。
and promote investment liberalization.
中国正在稳步扩大
We are steadily
金融业开放、
increasing the openness of the
持续推
financial
进
sector,
服务业开放、
continuing to open up the service
深化
sector,
农业、
and working toward greater
采矿业
openness in the agricultural, mining,
制造业
and manufacturing
开放
sectors.
加快电信、
We are accelerating opening
教育、
in such areas as telecommunications, education, medical service, and culture.
开放进程，特别是外国
In
投资者
particular,
关注
The
国内
foreign
市场缺
equity
口较
caps
大的，
are going to be raised
教育、
in the education and medical service
也将
sectors,
放宽
where
外资
there is
股比
both
限制。
huge interest among foreign investors and shortage
估计未来
in
15
domestic
年
supply. In the coming 15 years,
中国进口
China's
商
import
品
of goods and services are expected to exceed
超过
30
30万亿美
trillion
元，
US dollars
和10万
and
亿
10 trillion US dollars respectively.
第三，
Third,
营造国际一流营
we
商
will
环境。
foster a world-class business environment.
中国将加快出台
China will introduce
外商投资法
the
规，
law on foreign investment at
完
a
善
faster
公开
pace
透明的
and
涉外
institute
法律体系。
an open and transparent system
全
of
面深入
foreign-related
实施
laws.
准入前
We will implement
国民待遇
across the
加
board
负面清
the
单
management
管
system
制
based on pre-establishment national treatment and
中
negative
国
list.
将尊重
We
国
respect
际营商惯例，
international business rules and
对在
practice
中国境内注册
and
的
provide
各类
equal
企业
treatment to all
一视
types
同仁
of businesses registered in China.
中国将保护
We protect
外资企业
the
合法
lawful rights and interests of foreign
坚决
companies
依法惩
and
处
are resolute
侵
in
犯外
meting
商合法
out
权益，
in a
特别是
law-binding manner
侵犯
punishment for
知识
violations
产
of
权
the lawful rights and interests of
行为
foreign investors, particularly
提高知识
IPR
产权
infringements.
审查质
We will
量
enhance the credibility
和审查效
and
率
efficiency of IP
引
examination
入
and put in
惩
place
罚性
a punitive
赔偿制度，
compensation system
显著提高
to significantly
违法
raise the
成本。
cost for offenders.
营商环境只有更好
Improvement of the business environment is an ongoing process, and there is
各国
always
都
room
应
for
该努
things
力
to
改
become
进自己
better.
的营商环境，
Countries need to improve their
解决
business
自身存在
environment
的问题。
by addressing their problems.
不能啊
They should not
总是粉饰自
just
己，
point fingers at
指责
others
他人，
to gloss over their own
不
problem.
能像手电筒
They should
那
not
样
hold a flashlight
只
in
照他
hand,
人，不照
doing
自己。
nothing but to check out on the weakness of others and not on their own.
第四，
Fourth,
打造对外开放的
we will
新
explore
高地。
new horizons of opening up.
中国将支持
China will support
自由贸易试验
its
区
pilot
深化
free
改革
trade
创新，
zones to deepen
持续深化
reform and
差别化
innovation,
探索
make continued
加大压力测试，
explorations based on their differentiated conditions and step up stress tests so as to give full play to their role as a pilot ground for reform and opening up. China will be quick to put forward policies and institutions for building a free trade port in Hainan in a step-by-step and phased manner so as to speed up exploration of the development of free trade ports with distinct Chinese features. This is a significant move by China to open wider to the world. It will set a new model and open up new prospects for reform and opening up at a higher level.
推动多边和双边合作深入发展。
Fifth, we will promote international cooperation at multilateral and bilateral levels. China believes that the rules of the WTO should be upheld firmly, its necessary reforms should be supported, and the multilateral trading system should be defended.
中国愿推动
China will strive
早日
for
达成
the early
区域
conclusion
全面经济伙
of
伴
the
关系
regional comprehensive economic partnership
加快推进
and speed up
中欧
negotiations
投资
on
协定谈
a
判，
China-EU investment agreement
加快
and
中日韩
a
自由
China-Japan
贸易区。
ROK free trade area.
中国将认真实施
China will earnestly implement
2018年中非合
the
作论
8
坛
major
北京峰
initiatives
会
announced at this year's Beijing summit
8大行动。
of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation.
中国支持
China
20国集
supports
团、
mechanisms such as the
亚太经
G20,
合组织、
APEC,
上海合作
Shanghai
组织、
Cooperation Organization,
金砖国家等
and BRICS
机制，发挥更大
in
作
playing greater roles
推动全球经济治理体
in
系
building a fairer
朝着
and more
更加公
equitable
正、
global
合理的方向发
economic
展。
governance system.
中国将继续推进共
China
建
will continue to advance the Belt and Road Initiative
坚持
through
共商
international
共建
cooperation in the
共享
spirit of consultation and
同相关国家
collaboration
一道
for shared benefits.
推进重大项
We
目
will
建设，
work with the
搭
participating
建更
countries
多
on
贸
major
易促
projects,
进平台，
set up more trade promotion
更多有
platforms,
实力
and encourage
最好的中国
more
企业
well-established and
到
capable Chinese companies
沿线国家
to invest in countries
开展投资合
along the
作，
routes
深化生态
to enhance cooperation in areas of ecology,
民生
science and
等各领域
technology, culture,
交流
and
合作，
people's
为
livelihood.
全球提供
By so doing, we
开放
hope to
合作
set
的
up for the
国际
whole
平台。
world a platform for open cooperation.
女士们、先生们、朋友们，
Ladies and gentlemen, friends,
当前中国经济运行总体
the
平稳
Chinese economy
稳
is
中
now,
有进，
on the whole, stable and making
前三季
good
度
progress.
中国国内
For
生
the
产
first
总
three
值
quarters of this year,
增长
China's GDP
6.7%，
grew by 6.7%,
其中第
including
三季度增长
a
6.5%，
6.5% growth registered
符
for the
合预
third
期目
quarter,
标。
meeting our targeted goal for growth.
全年粮食产
Grain
量
output for the
早
whole
晚
year
保持在
is projected to
1.2
surpass
1.2
1.2
亿斤，
trillion
上
jing, or 600 million
城
tons.
镇新增就业
Some 11.07
1107
million new
万
jobs
人，
have been created in
提前
towns
完
and
成
cities,
全年目标。
hitting our annual goal ahead of schedule.
从经济增长、
Judged by the main economic indexes from GDP
国
growth,
际收支、
job creation, consumer prices, and international balance of
财政
payment,
收入、
to companies' profit
劳动生
margins,
产率等主
government
要指标
fiscal
看，
revenue, and productivity,
中国经济运行
China's
都
economy
处于合理
is
区
truly
间，
performing well
为实现
within the
全年
reasonable
目标任
range.
务
This has
打
given
下
us
了
a solid
重要基础。
foundation for delivering the
同其
development
他主要
goals
经济
for the
体
whole
相
year.
比，
And
中国
compared
经济
with
增
other
长
major economies,
仍居
China still
世
ranks
界前列。
among the world's top in terms of GDP growth.
对中国经济发展前景，
So when you talk about the
大
future
家
of the Chinese
完全可以
economy,
抱着
you
乐
have
观态度。
every reason to be confident. The fundamentals for sound and stable growth of the Chinese economy remain unchanged. The necessary production factors for high-quality development remain unchanged. And the overall momentum of long-term stability and progress remains unchanged. China's capacity for macroeconomic regulation is growing, as efforts to deepen reform across the board have unleashed new drivers of growth. With the Belt and Road Initiative being further implemented, two-way investment and trade between China and the BRI partner countries have continued to gather pace. All in all, the favorable conditions are in place for the long-term, healthy and steady growth of the Chinese economy. Of course, everything has two sides. The economic situation at home and abroad has created some significant challenges for the Chinese economy, such as more uncertainty in some sectors, more difficulties for some enterprises, and growing risks in certain sectors. These challenges, generally speaking, are natural in the course of development, and we are taking active steps to solve them. Our efforts are already paying off. China is the world's second largest economy. We have a market of more than 1.3 billion consumers who live on the land of over 9.3 million square kilometers. To use a metaphor, the Chinese economy is not a pond, but an ocean. The ocean may have its calm days, but big winds and storms are only to be expected. Without them, the ocean wouldn't be what it is. Big winds and storms may upset a pond, but never an ocean. Having experienced numerous winds and storms, the ocean will still be there. It is the same for China. After going through 5,000 years of trials and tribulations, China is still here. Looking ahead, China will always be here to stay. I am convinced as long as we have strategic confidence, deepen reform and opening up across the board, intensify supply-side structural reforms, and make greater efforts to solve outstanding problems, then the Chinese economy will surely make a quicker transition to high-quality development. The Chinese people will surely overcome all challenges coming our way. And China will surely embrace a brighter future of development. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, every city has its character. Located at where the Yangtze River flows into the Pacific Ocean, Shanghai has been a pioneer of opening in China. The city's development is made possible by its character, competitive edge, and steps toward greater opening. Having myself worked here, I know personally just how important it is for Shanghai to be open and for China to keep the city open.
Indeed, openness, innovation, and inclusiveness have become the hallmark of Shanghai. They are also a vivid reflection of China in the new era and its commitment to development and progress. To capitalize on the important role of Shanghai and its surrounding areas in China's opening up, we have made the following decisions. First, we will expand the China-Shanghai Pilot Free Trade Zone to include a new section and will encourage and support bold and creative steps by Shanghai to advance investment and trade liberalization and facilitation so that more of its successful practices may be replicated in other parts of China. Second, we will launch a Science and Technology Innovation Board at the Shanghai Stock Exchange and experiment with a registration system for listed companies. We will also support Shanghai in cementing its position as an international financial center and a hub of science and innovation, and steadily improve the fundamental institutions of its capital market. Third, we will support integrated development of the Yangtze River Delta region. We will make it a national strategy and implement our new development philosophy in real earnest. We will build a modern economic system and adopt higher standards for reform and opening up. The region will develop in tandem with the Belt and Road Initiative, the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei Coordinated Development Area, the Yangtze River Economic Belt, and the Guangdong-Hong Kong-Macau Greater Bay Area, and will help improve the overall layout of China's reform and opening up. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, the CIIE is hosted by China with the support of the WTO and other international organizations, as well as a large number of participating countries. It is not China's solo show, but rather a chorus involving countries from around the world. I hope that at the Hongqiao International Economic and Trade Forum, you will brainstorm ideas for reforming the global economic governance system, for jointly safeguarding free trade and the multilateral trading system, and for working together to foster an open global economy that is innovative and inclusive. Together, let us contribute to our common efforts to build a community of shared future and usher in an even better tomorrow for mankind. Thank you. Thank you, President Xi Jinping, for your keynote speech. In your speech, you explained to us the great significance of this CIIE. You also analyzed the challenges facing the global economy. You have called upon countries to step up efforts for common development, and you have pointed way for China's efforts to broaden its opening up. Indeed, your keynote speech is very important. Now let's warmly welcome President Danilo Medina of the Dominican Republic.
Excelentísimo señor Xi Jinping, Presidente de la República
Your Excellency, President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China, Your Excellencies, heads of governments, heads of state,
nacionales e internacionales
Your
que nos
Excellencies,
acompañan,
heads of delegations,
señores miembros de los
and
organismos
international
multilaterales,
organizations,
señoras y señores,
ladies
es
and
un placer
gentlemen,
estar aquí hoy con todos ustedes.
it is a pleasure to be here today with all of you, and I extend the warm greetings of the Dominican people to each of those present here. I want to thank President Xi Jinping and his government, as well as the Shanghai municipal government and the organizers of this event, for the invitation to the first China International Import Expo of China, which has already become a major event for international trade. It is an honor for us to visit Shanghai, which is not only the largest city in China, but also the most dazzling and perhaps the one that best reveals the commitment of the Chinese people to modernity, globalization, and the progress of human civilization. An estimate in 2016 showed that China was on its way to become the world's largest economy. This is no secret. Apart from this, China is also geared to become the world's biggest exporter and investor. Last year I had the opportunity to see the history of China, a television series produced in 2016 and narrated by Michelle Wood, Professor of History at the University of Manchester. Nothing shocked me more than observing the importance attached by the Chinese people to the celebration of the Qingming Festival, or the Tomb Sweeping Day, on which families honor their ancestors, presenting themselves before their graves to narrate the achievements that each member of the family made during the previous year, honoring the family name. The manifestation of respect and commitment of the Chinese people with their ancestors is truly moving and extraordinarily humane. But at the same time, it reveals an additional cause behind the great march of the Chinese people to turn their nation into the largest economy of the world. Millions of Chinese studying, innovating, creating and working not only to improve the living conditions of their families and raise the wealth of their great nation, but also because they understand that with this they are honoring and exalting their predecessors. Ladies and gentlemen, this fair is an unbeatable space not only to know the products and services demanded by the Chinese economy, but also to promote commercial exchange and greater understanding among the dozens of countries present here from the 5 continents. To be here and present ourselves between both dynamism and activity is a reminder of the best values of globalization, a process in which we can and must all win. Today, China has become a benchmark of open exchange, cooperation and connectivity among nations. This is evidenced by the process of reform and opening up, which is now 4 decades old, and the important Belt and Road Initiative. We congratulate the Chinese government for once again showing its openness in organizing this expo, so that other countries can present their products and get in touch with potential customers in a market as enormous as China. This fair allows us to know a wide sample of the products and services in high demand by the growing Chinese middle class. The World Factory now opens its doors, and everyone present is happy to be able to show its population our enormous potential. Likewise, we understand that for all participating countries, it is a great opportunity to be present in this space, which allows us not only to approach the great Asian giant, but also to exchange experiences, launch strategic partnerships, and explore models of cooperation to integrate ourselves successfully with this market. the Dominican Republic is here today in a very special circumstance, because in May, we began a new stage of full diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China. Therefore, it is of special interest for us to strengthen the commercial and cultural ties between our peoples. It is worth mentioning, however, that the commercial ties even before the new stage of diplomatic relations already exceeded $2.5 billion per year. We trust, however, that initiatives like this allow us to balance the trade between our nations. Dominican products are recognized worldwide for their quality. We are the #1 exporter of handmade cigars and one of the biggest exporters of high-quality cocoa, a beloved Dominican rum, as well as tropical fruits and vegetables such as pineapple, avocado, and banana, among others. These and other products are annually exported to more than 150 countries, including the most demanding and competitive international markets. For us, it is a great satisfaction to be able to offer them in this import expo so that they know firsthand the best of our land. I trust that they will be of your liking and interest, and that they will convey the joy and generosity of the Dominican people who produce them. This is something that pleases us, especially because 2018 has been officially named the Year of Export Promotion in my country. We are also accompanied by a wide representation of Dominican business leaders for whom numerous new business opportunities are opened, among which are representatives of the industrial sector, free trade zones, and the tourist area, all of which are areas in which we are leaders in the Caribbean and Central American region. And of course, when we think about increasing Dominican exports, one of the first things we have to think, both from the government and the private sector, is to get into new markets, growing markets like those we find in Asia and in particular in China. That is why we have come today with a delegation of Dominican producers and exporters in order to strengthen ties, listen to ideas, and also make proposals. We understand that the strengthening of commercial relations is a fundamental step to bring countries closer in all areas. And if these relationships are open, inclusive, and balanced, it helps to promote the growth of both parties. Trade is and must always be seen as a win-win opportunity. Thank you very much, therefore, for inviting us to participate in this enriching experience. I can assure you that our door is open and our hands outstretched, not only to do business, but also to create lasting partnerships that benefits us all. In the coming months, we will continue to do everything in our power to strengthen commercial ties between the People's Republic of China and the Dominican Republic. We have before us the great opportunity to continue building bridges, and in this way to create day by day more employment and more prosperity for our peoples. Thank you. Thank you, President Medina. I now recognize President Kenyatta of Kenya.
Your Excellency Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Royal Highness, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to join you for the opening of this historic China International Import Expo. And let me start by expressing my appreciation to you, Your Excellency, and the People's Republic of China for the warm welcome accorded to me and my entire delegation since our arrival here in Shanghai. This expo brings together 130 countries and 2,800 enterprises and more than 150,000 buyers who will use this platform as a medium to advance trade interests and build networks for future business partnership. I thank Your Excellency for your commitment to economic cooperation and readiness to open up your market to the rest of the world. This aligns well with the vision of shared prosperity. This expo is a fitting launchpad for growing trade cooperation between China and Africa. It is an important signal to the world that China remains open for business despite the growing wave of trade protectionism. This expo comes at a time when the World Trade Organization is facing unprecedented challenges, and I congratulate you, President Xi, for your leadership in advocating for the strengthening of rule-based global trade. The relationship between Africa in general and Kenya in particular and China dates back to the Silk Road and the expedition of Admiral Yong. In the recent past, this relationship has grown in important ways. Kenya is part of the One Belt, One Road initiative, and China is a key partner that is supporting my administration in building strong foundation for accelerated growth. It is this strong partnership that made the historic standard gauge railway a reality in Kenya. Our natural deep-water seaport of Mombasa is now connected to the hinterland by the standard gauge railway, making transportation of produce from production to markets seamless. And we look forward to a continued partnership that facilitates the extension of the SGR to the rest of the East African region. This will make the transportation of goods and services from East Africa to and from China and the world seamless. While Kenya and the rest of Africa welcomes partnership in all areas, we seek to give priority to trade and investment opportunities. We seek to participate in global trade as a means to grow our industry and technological capacity, to create jobs, and to achieve the continental growth ambitions articulated in the African Union Agenda 2063. And I am delighted that Chinese companies are increasingly growing more confident and taking up opportunities that Africa presents. That is the way to go. Indeed, yesterday, Mr. President, I had the occasion to meet representatives from a number of companies that are in the process of setting up in Kenya. One of these, the Guangdong Silk-Tex Group, seeks to start a silk industry in Kenya, right from farming and producing silk to add value and export. This investment will create 300,000 jobs and initiate cocoon farming covering more than 200,000 acres. Such investments offer mutual benefits. They generate jobs, create a value chain, and guarantee favorable returns on investment. Today, China ranks as the #1 trading partner with Kenya, accounting for 17.2% of Kenya's total trade with the world. Between the years 2007 to 2017, total trade between Kenya and China grew more than eightfold, from $471.6 million in 2017 to approximately $4 billion in from 471 million in 2007 to $4 billion in 2017. This trade, however, was heavily skewed in favor of China. It is important for us, therefore, to correct the existing trade imbalance to enable a fairer share of the benefits of trade. And for this reason, Kenya, and indeed Africa, welcome this Expo as an important step towards closing the gap of this imbalance. I am happy to inform you that I am accompanied by a business delegation of more than 100 persons seeking to tap into the opportunities presented by this Expo. We have brought some of Kenya's best products to this Expo, and I invite you all to our pavilion to sample some of our fruits, vegetables, and our world-renowned coffee and tea, as well as some of our crafts. Your Excellency, allow me to share a few suggestions on how I believe we can boost Sino-Africa trade and embrace a win-win framework where the benefits of international trade are shared between China and Africa. Africa needs a reduction or an elimination of tariffs to enable access of our products into your market. We would like to propose an initiative that is designed to give preferential access to Africa goods as a means to stimulate the growth of Africa's export industries, and such an initiative could begin with a few pilot cases. To facilitate increased exports for African agricultural products, China may consider providing technical assistance to sanitary and phytosanitary institutions in Africa to enable these countries comply with Chinese SPS standards and other international requirements. China could also support trade promotion initiatives aimed at exposing African exporters to the Chinese market. This will allow for business networking, enable African countries to showcase and demonstrate the latest products and services, and also enable them to meet with industry partners and customers. And in this context, I am pleased to confirm that my delegation will participate in the International Horticultural Exhibition that will take place in Beijing from the 29th of April to the 7th of October 2019. One of Africa's greatest assets is its biodiversity. A deliberate effort should be made to encourage increased tourism by Chinese nationals to the continent's numerous holiday destinations. Besides leisure, tourism offers opportunity for cultural exchanges between our peoples and will be a tangible quick win that is mutually beneficial for our trading relations. We would like to see more Chinese firms manufacturing in Africa and exporting to the rest of the world, and I'm very pleased to acknowledge and appreciate the more than 200 Chinese companies who already have investments in Kenya. I would like to encourage more firms to establish joint ventures with Kenyan entrepreneurs and to increase the content of locally produced goods and services in their projects and industries. As I conclude, I wish to thank China for its strong and growing support to Kenya. I wish to assure you and all the Chinese people that Kenya is open and safe for business and investment. Kenya has a diversified economy, and there are limitless opportunities to invest and do joint ventures in construction, agriculture, infrastructure, ICT, and financial services. In addition, Kenya has one of the most conducive business environments in Africa. Since 2014, Kenya has leapt from position 136 to position 61 in 2018 out of the 190 countries in the World Bank ranking in the ease of doing business. This constitutes a rise of 75 positions in 4 years. It is an ideal private sector-driven investment destination and a gateway to the rest of Africa. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed my sincere hope that this Expo will lead to a significant increase in trade flows between our countries and provide an opportunity for all of us to learn from China's remarkable growth experience. I also hope the business delegates will finalize business deals, sign joint venture agreements, and undertake several other trade collaborations. We look forward to great engagements, great partnership, and increased trade with you all as we seek to meet the aspirations and dreams of our people. I thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Kenyatta. I now recognize Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouly of Egypt.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فخامة الرئيس شي جين بينغ،
Your Excellency, President Xi Jinping, Excellencies, heads of state and government, distinguished guests, first, I want to express my appreciation to President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China and to the friendly Chinese people for the warm hospitality accorded to us during this first China International Import Expo in Shanghai. I also want to thank the Chinese government for inviting Egypt to the Expo as a guest of honor. This reflects China's commitment to growing business ties with Egypt. Indeed, I'm very grateful for this. Egypt is here for the CIIE because Egypt recognizes the strategic importance of this expo. We believe that it will bring real opportunities for trade and investment cooperation between our two countries. Egypt has placed great importance on this event, and we've been contributing within our bilateral strategic partnership framework. We have done many things to consolidate the achievements we already made in various fields. Egypt is here for the CIIE also as a show of appreciation to China for its commitment to a multilateral trading system and to promoting fair trade among countries. Egypt believes that China is making steady progress toward this goal. Over the past 4 years, our relationship has advanced by leaps and bounds at the bilateral and regional levels. Bilaterally, our relationship has been upgraded to a comprehensive strategic partnership, and this decision was announced during our President's visit to China in December 2014. Regional-wise, Egypt is among the first group of countries to sign bilateral MOUs with China on Belt and Road cooperation. The Belt and Road is an initiative made by President Xi in 2013. It is designed to promote better connectivity both on land and at sea, connecting Asia, Europe, and Africa. I believe it will be important for economic trade cooperation among countries along the route and for global growth. Business cooperation is a pillar in our bilateral cooperation. China has been Egypt's top trading partner, while Egypt is China's fourth largest trading partner among African countries. In 2017, our two-way trade was nearly $11 billion. The statistics of our trade mix show a considerable surplus on the Chinese side. This means that our two sides need to work together to promote better balance in our trade. This is also a purpose of Egypt's participation in this expo. In investment, now we have 1,080 Chinese companies in Egypt covering a variety of sectors, including industry, telecommunications, the development of economic zones, finance, and contract of projects. Driven by our desire for closer investment cooperation within the framework of Belt and Road Initiative and the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, we have signed an agreement on production capacity cooperation. This is an important mechanism for our investment cooperation because it provides the ways and means for our investment in priority areas. Egypt takes very seriously this mechanism, and we will work with China on the projects already agreed upon within this framework. Bilateral investment cooperation has played an important role in our respective sustainable development. Egypt also stresses the importance of closer investment cooperation with China in the regional terms within the Belt and Road framework, because Egypt is an important node on the maritime Silk Road, and given the strategic importance of the Suez Canal as a logistic hub, we can also contribute to the Belt and Road vision. Excellencies, distinguished guests, over the past 4 years, Egypt has made notable progress in many areas. This should be contributed to the economic development agenda adopted by the Egyptian government and the Egypt 2030 comprehensive strategy. This strategy is designed to create a favorable business climate to attract more investment in different sectors so that industrial development will remain an engine of our economic growth. And in this context, the Egyptian government has taken a host of economic policies and legislative and executive reforms to achieve development. We now have new investment law, license law. We are setting up industrial parks to prioritize the development of certain sectors, including textiles, automobiles, leather, petrochemical, sea shipping, and logistics. We have also drawn up province-specific investment roadmaps and offer policy incentives for investment in priority sectors. And all these policies have already had a major impact, making Egypt a choice destination for foreign direct investment last year. And this is a conclusion of the 2018 Global Investment Index report by the UN Conference on Trade and Development. Ladies and gentlemen, In this connection, I invite the Chinese business community to have closer trade and investment cooperation with Egypt to benefit from our market strengths. This includes the vast spending power and need in Egypt, the rich natural resources, and competitive labor resources. The unique position of Egypt in connecting Asia, Africa, and Europe, making Egypt an important point for trade in these three continents and beyond. Egypt has signed many trade agreements with various parties. For instance, with the Arab countries, with African countries, with the European Union, with the European Free Trade Association, and with Mercosur. We have also signed protocols on establishing industrial parks, and all these agreements will enable Egyptian products to make their way into households of covering 1.6 billion on favorable terms. Let me stress here that our two business communities are playing an important role in our economic cooperation. Without the participation of our business communities, we cannot realize the vista of cooperation between us. So, in conclusion, I want to stress to the Chinese business community that the Egyptian government is committed to having closer investment and trade cooperation in various areas. We will provide all the necessary support to the Chinese companies and remove all the standing obstacles in trade and investment. I want to invite the delegations to our national pavilion. We have presented the proud products of 37 Egyptian companies in textile, medical devices, handicrafts, agricultural products, and food. We also have a sculpture of the National Bank of Egypt. And finally, I want to once again thank the Chinese leader, the government, and people, and for your hospitality and for your wonderful organization. I wish this event great success. Thank you. I wish all the countries represented here continued progress, development, and prosperity. Thank you. Thank you, Prime Minister Mardbuli. Now, let's welcome Prime Minister Viktor Orban of Hungary.
Distinguished Mr. President, Excellencies, dear colleagues, first of all, I would like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to President Xi for the invitation extended to Hungary to take part as a guest of honor on the first ever China International Import Expo in this great city of Shanghai. While looking at the precious list of invitees, you can raise the questions how it comes that a small landlocked country from Central Europe is involved in a list full of giants. And the answer is Central Europe. Hungary represents more than herself. When you hear our voice, you hear the voice of our region. A region which has recently become the growth engine of Europe. Economic and social policies in Central European region, representing common sense, have ensured that the countries here were able to preserve their national, political and cultural identity even under the pressure of massive illegal migration, the phenomenon you are surely well aware of. we ended up in a situation that the growth rate of this region is 2 times higher compared to the continental average, and having the trends in mind, it is a matter of a broad consensus that this region will definitely be the source of the future European growth as well. We understand these developments have been realized by China while creating the 16+1 China Central European Cooperation format. 16 countries located in Central Europe, representing quite a considerable grouping, even from the perspective of the giants. We were honored to host the summit last year, and we are committed to remain strong promoters of this platform. These days, the governors of the central banks of the countries involved are gathering in Budapest for the first time ever meeting, while the 16+1 Customs Cooperation Center to simplify and accelerate trade within each other has been under preparation by us as well. Mr. President, Hungary has always been a supporter of the most possibly free and fair global trade network, and we have always been supporters of the Euro-Asian cooperation. That is why we are absolutely interested in the success of the One Belt, One Road initiative, and that is why we were the first European country to sign the bilateral cooperation agreement about its implementation. Our economies are very open. The performance of our national economies is highly determined by the external factors, the flow of capital into our countries, the dynamism of investments carried out by international companies, and the trend of export. Based on this fact, we highly value the presence of Chinese companies in Hungary. We are proud of the fact that the Bank of China located its regional headquarters to Budapest and operates there one of its European RMB clearing centers. Huawei is managing its European distribution activities from Hungary. BYD has established its first European factory in Hungary. Vanhua operates a huge chemical plant, while Johnson Electric, Yong and Westcast become more and more important players of our automotive industry. These Chinese companies have contributed to achieve basically full employment on the Hungarian labor market and had a significant role in helping our national economy to stay in the 4+% GDP growth rate path on the long term. We are also proud to have the highest export figures from our region to China. The products of our mechanical, pharmaceutical, and food industries gain more and more shares on the Chinese market. Following last year's all-time export record, we have been witnessing another 18% increase in our trade so far this year. Our national pavilion highlights the products and services through which we will be able to maintain this very favorable trend, to which business-to-business agreements on the fields of dairy industry, water management, innovative energy production, and machinery to be signed tomorrow will definitely contribute. Dear Mr. President, to conclude, I would like to underline that you can count on our region's support when it comes to your initiatives to promote free and fair international trade, when it comes to enhancing Euro-Asian cooperation under the framework of One Belt, One Road initiative, and when it comes to pay more attention to Central Europe. Thank you, Excellencies and dear colleagues, for your kind attention.
Thank you, Prime Minister Orban. And now let's welcome Prime Minister Imran Khan of Pakistan.
Your Excellency, President Xi Jinping, esteemed guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure today to lead the Pakistani delegation at the first China International Import Expo. I especially want to thank the President, the Chinese government, for the great hospitality accorded to me and my delegation. As the Belt and Road Initiative gives shape to a global community of shared interests, this expo will help spread dividends of freer trade amongst more closely integrated economies. In Pakistan, the Karakoram Highway merges into a network of modern highways that are part of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. These take you to the deep sea port of Gwadar, the point where the belt and road converge, and this impacts not only Pakistan, but has an impact on all the economies of the entire region. CPEC shall cut distances and costs, bringing much-needed resources to producers and new products to consumers. CPEC is a mechanism to forge even closer connectivity between the Middle East and China and between Central and South Asia. It is opening fresh investment avenues, new markets, new vistas. My party, the Tehreek-e-Insaf, or PTI, campaigned during the last election for change. And now, since we've been in power, we are initiating deep and meaningful reforms impacting all sectors and every aspect of governance. We are committed to improving our frameworks of transparency and accountability, leveraging technology for seamless, smart solutions for business and governance. We in Pakistan are blessed with an abundant array of resources ranging from minerals to fertile land to wealth of renewables and the most diverse landscape with 12 climatic zones. Our industry is already producing high-end textiles, sports goods, engineering goods, IT services, and medical technologies, including surgical instruments. But by far, our greatest and most promising resource is human. We have 100 million Pakistanis below the age of 35, a young, vibrant population. And the Naya or New Pakistan will be more conducive and more competitive place for transacting business. At a time when the international trade system is under attack, when unilateral commercial benefits are being sought aggressively by some, when protectionism is on the rise, we take great comfort in President Xi's courageous statement, and I quote, "The doors of China's opening up will never shut, but will only open ever wider." Thank you.
Thank you, Prime
Minister
下面
Imran
让我
Khan.
们热烈欢迎
Now
俄罗
let's
斯总理
welcome
梅德
Prime
韦杰夫
Minister
致
of
辞。
Russia, Mr. Medvedev.
Your Excellency, President Xi Jinping, heads of states and governments, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, on behalf of the Russian Federation, I would like to welcome all those gathered here at the opening ceremony of the first China International Import Expo. This is truly a major event. Countries have of mutually beneficial cooperation with no place for either pressure or sanctions or protectionism or any sort of limitations. Unfortunately, this is the reality of the modern day, of the modern economy, and we cannot turn a blind eye towards it. The principles of free and fair competition should be the basis of international trade relationships, as well as the principle of the free movement of goods and services. And the President of China just mentioned that in his speech. This is the approach that Russia and the People's Republic of China uphold, and China is one of our most important partners. We appreciate that our Chinese colleagues seek to build long-term partnership and create long-term trade relations, which would be of benefit to all the stakeholders. In recent years, China has become not only a global producer of industrial goods, but also a giant market for the end products produced. It's important to work on this market for any international company. We indeed are grateful to China for inviting Russia to take part in this representative forum in the honorary status of a partner country. This expo in Shanghai is a great opportunity to showcase the potential of the Russian economy. In the coming years, we plan to double the volume of non-commodities and non-energy exports up to $250 billion. Primarily, I mean agricultural products, machine building, and other areas of industry. This goal is now a national development priority, and major resources have been earmarked to this end. Today, several dozens of Russian companies present their products here, and we have tried to make our exhibition as informative as possible. It consists of 5 thematic sections: food and agriculture, medical equipment and healthcare, consumer goods, high-tech equipment and services. We will also present major international projects. The representatives of 40 regions of Russia take part in the expo. This is almost half of our country. They will talk in detail about the industrial and investment projects which could be of interest not only to our Chinese partners but to all our foreign partners. The regions of our countries are more actively collaborating with each other, and the year 2018 and the next year have been announced as the years of interregional exchanges between Russia and China. Our interstate relationships are as strong as ever. They do not depend on the economic or political situation. They are based on mutual respect and interests of our countries. This creates the proper basis for the development and broadening of our ties, as well as any payments in national currencies. I believe that it is proper to boost the volume of mutual credits in yuans and in rubles, and I'm talking about those loans which are allocated for investment projects. This allows us to strengthen the stability of the Russian-Chinese trade in the conditions when a number of reserve currencies becomes a less reliable instrument for international trade, and we are moving towards that. The Russian National Bank and the Bank of Development of China have signed a framework agreement in June, and we are now increasing the number of resources, and the Russian Expo Center plays a major role in that. And over the course of the Expo, they're going to open their office in Shanghai, and their experts are going to help find the necessary Russian goods and provide consultations on financial support measures. Another prospect area of our cooperation is tourism, and we see an increased interest on the part of Russia to Chinese culture, and on the other hand, the citizens of China are visiting Russia as well. And the World Cup, which was recently held in Russia, showed the beauty and hospitality of the Russian people to our foreign guests. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to develop our cooperation with China consistently, as well as with our partners around the globe. I'm convinced that this first China International Import Expo would provide a major boost for the development of business, as well as for the prosperity of our people. And Chinese saying goes, a man grows most tired when he is standing still, but we're in no danger. So I wish us every success in our work. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Prime Minister Medvedev, for your remarks. Now let us welcome Prime Minister of Vietnam, Nguyen Tuan Phuc.
Chủ tịch nước Cộng hòa Nhân dân Trung Hoa Tập Cận Bình, các quý vị đứng đầu nhà nước, chính phủ,
Ladies and gentlemen,
tất cả quý vị khách quý có mặt hôm nay.
President Xi Jinping, heads of states and
Thay
government.
mặt chính phủ Việt Nam, tôi vui
Ladies and
mừng
gentlemen, on
tham dự
behalf
hội
of
nghị
the government of Vietnam,
hội chợ nhập khẩu
I'm
quốc tế
honored
của
to
Trung Quốc
attend the first ever
ở thành phố
China International Import Expo
và năng động.
held in the beautiful and dynamic city of Shanghai,
Về cải cách với
a major trade center of the world
tâm
and a
thương mại
center
lớn của thế giới.
that is at the forefront of reform of China in the world. And right now,
Cảm ơn ngài Chủ tịch.
on behalf of the Vietnamese government and businesses, we'd like to express our sincere gratitude to Your Excellency President Xi Jinping and the organizers for your hospitable reception and excellent arrangements. And ladies and gentlemen, the global economy is maintaining its growth momentum. The fourth industrial revolution is spreading rapidly to every country, business, and citizen, giving rise to many opportunities for cooperation as well as new challenges. However, we are also witnessing an ongoing complicated trade dispute, and this requires all parties to engage in dialogue and confidence building, adhere to international law, and forge cooperation on the basis of equality. And over the past 4 decades, China has pursued its open door reforms and attained phenomenal achievements in socioeconomic development and made important contributions to global economic growth. China has also actively proposed and implemented a wide range of cooperation initiatives to advance economic linkages and regional connectivity and to address challenges in regional and global economic growth. China has become the second largest economy in the world right now, with strong growth momentums. We appreciate very highly the organization of the first China International Import Expo, which embodies the philosophy of win-win and mutually beneficial cooperation, promotes economic and trade cooperation, and is a strong driver for regional and global economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, Vietnam has a saying, one tree makes not a mountain, 3 trees together a tall peak make, meaning that solidarity and mutual assistance are the root of all strengths. The Chinese proverb, Du mu bu qing li, a single tree makes not a forest, means much the same. In the current context of globalization and international integration, no one country is able to grow on its own without participating in the integration process aimed towards common developmental value of mankind. And as a close and friendly neighbor, we always prioritize strong and close relationship with China, make sure that we have sustainable and mutually beneficial relations with China. We support an open, fair, transparent, inclusive world trading system with the WTO as its bedrock. We support trade and investment liberalization and facilitation and the creation of a conducive business environment that particularly supports SMEs. And after 30 years of reform, Vietnam has achieved an average GDP growth of about 6.5% and have become a middle-income developing country. And our international prestige is growing as well. And over the past 3 years, Vietnam has been one of the 3 fastest growing economies in the world, with GDP growing about 1.3 times. And this year, our GDP is expected to grow at nearly 7%. About 85% of our population right now is under the age of 35. They're skilled, trained, dynamic, and the livelihood of our nearly 100 million people is constantly improving. Per capita income in 2018 is expected to be about $2,040, and on PEP basis is nearly $6,900. And Vietnam's rankings in business and investment environment, competitiveness and innovation have also been greatly improved as well. The size of our trade has also expanded tremendously. In 2018, we expect it to be about $500 billion, and making us one of the top 30 countries and territories in terms of trade turnover. And we have currently signed or are in the process of negotiation of about 16 FTAs. 15 of our partners are members of the G20. And with representatives from over 130 countries here today, we'd like to also share that there's about 130 countries investing in Vietnam with total investment capital of about $337 billion. China is a major country in the world. It is our largest trading partner, and Vietnam is the 8th largest trading partner for China, and we are the largest trading partner for China within ASEAN. And at this CIIE, many of our outstanding businesses are introducing their products in terms of agriculture, in aquafishery, in electronics to other partners. And we hope that through this Expo, our partners will understand more about our businesses, our potentials, our products for transparent, more fair, equitable trade between us and our partners. We pledge to create a facilitative and fair business and investment environment, one that can live up to advanced international norms and high standards of the new generation FTAs that Vietnam is a member. We encourage and welcome your successes and successful business operations in Vietnam. May the Expo be a great success. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc. I now recognize Director General Azevedo of the World Trade Organization.
Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be with you here today and to help launch the China International Import Expo. And at the outset, I would like to thank President Xi for his leadership in organizing this event, and more broadly for his vocal support of multilateral institutions and their importance in the global economy. This first China International Import Expo sends a clear message about China's growing role in global trade. And this is particularly notable as we mark the 40th anniversary of China's first steps on the journey to reform and opening up. And that journey led China to become a member of the WTO and to China's strong commitment to our work today. The country is now increasingly active in the WTO in many ways, including helping other developing and least developed countries to join and benefit from the trading system through a number of support programs in the WTO. And this commitment and engagement is very welcome. And I think the Expo also sends another very important and welcome message, and that is about the importance of imports. It reminds us of the essential truth that trade is not a zero-sum game, where exports are good and imports are bad. In fact, imports mean greater choice for consumers at lower prices. They mean you can focus on producing those goods where you have a competitive advantage. And they mean having a more competitive and more efficient economy. And increasingly, imports mean inputs for your own products, which will themselves then be exported. This is the reality of global trade today. Around 2/3 of all exports around the world contain imported components. And it is precisely this greater openness and economic integration which has helped to fuel growth, job creation, and development in the modern world. It has lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty and created prosperity for many more. And continuing this process is in everyone's interest. This is why the World Trade Organization is so important. The organization provides the framework of rules and practices that underpin 98% of global trade today. It provides the very foundations on which greater economic openness and integration are built. We must work together now to strengthen those foundations, and this means working to fight protectionism and to ease the tensions that we are seeing in global trade relations. And it means ensuring that the trading system is ready to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow, including responding to the fourth industrial revolution. And I look forward to China's continued support in those efforts and your continued support and commitment to trade liberalization and the multilateral trading system. Working together, we can ensure that we play our full part in creating global prosperity and the brighter economic future that we all want to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Director General Azevedo. I now recognize Managing Director Christian Lagarde of the IMF.
President Xi, heads of state and government, honored guests, friends, colleagues, business community, good morning. Zhao Chuanho. Last night, when just like so many of you, I crossed the beautiful Wapong River on Lupu Bridge, I was reminded of the talent of China to build bridges. Let me mention 3 of them. Bridge number 1. 40 years ago, China started to build its bridge to the world by opening its economy and kick-starting reforms that have changed the lives and prospects of hundreds of millions of people here, but also beyond China. By transforming itself through trade, through hard work, also learning from others, China has helped transform not only itself, but also the global economy. Progress in this country has played a significant role in boosting productivity, boosting innovation, President, as you said, and living standards in countries around the world. Yes, there is always more work to be done, because on that bridge, you don't want traffic jam, you don't want bottleneck, and you don't want restricted traffic. So yes, there is room for even greater reform in the domestic market of China, which can help strengthen the global trade system. And there is scope for further reform that will help unleash the full potential of so many private sector firms. Bridge number 2. China is building a bridge to prosperity by rebalancing its economy towards consumption-led growth as opposed to export and investment-led growth. Building that bridge is well underway. In the first 3 quarters of this year only, consumption contributed 78% of China's GDP growth, as opposed to 50% only 5 years ago. This transition, which is symbolized by the China International Import Expo, is good for China, but it is good for the world, including all those who see China as a vital and vibrant market for their goods and for their services. Again, we can see the progress and rebalancing in the numbers. For example, China's current account is likely to be at just about 1% this year, compared with 10% 10 years ago. Bridge number 3. China is building a bridge to the future by harnessing the power of international cooperation, especially in trade. On behalf of the International Monetary Fund, I have called all parties to de-escalate and resolve the current trade disputes and to fix the global trade system, not destroy it. To achieve these goals, we need more international cooperation, not less. And that goes well beyond the economics. I want to quote here one of our French philosophers, Montesquieu, who said, "Wherever there is good citizenship, there is trade. Wherever there is trade, there is good citizenship." So in other words, trade has the capacity to boost innovation, to encourage prosperity, but also peace within countries and between nations. So in Shanghai, the city of 12 bridges, I will only mention 3, but this is where we need to start this cooperation towards more peace and a more prosperous future. Thank you.
Thank you, Madame Lagarde. Now let's welcome President Yong Kim of the World Bank.
Thank you so much. President Xi, heads of state and government, Your Royal Highness, and honored guests. It's a great honor for me to be here at the China International Import Expo. And I was here earlier in the week to celebrate with Chinese authorities the 40th anniversary of China's opening up. And we talked about the great achievements of China in that period. The per capita income increased 25-fold. More than 800 million people lifted themselves out of poverty. That's 70% of all the people in the world who were lifted out of poverty in that period. And I was also here to celebrate the evidence of China's continued commitment to reform. And I want to congratulate President Xi and the entire Chinese government, especially the mayors of Shanghai and Beijing. China went up 32 places this year on our Doing Business Index. You know, we know that the pro-poor impact of trade liberalization in developing countries is clear. But in recent years, trade liberalization has stalled. And in just the last few years, we've seen the acceleration of the return to protectionism. The escalation of tariffs will negatively affect the entire global growth outlook and slow down the pace of poverty reduction at a time when we can least afford it. A reversal of trade openness would hurt many poor households in both developing and developed countries, and protectionist trade policies can cause a chain reaction as more countries adopt similar measures. The global recovery is built on investment, and there's a real danger that businesses will decide to wait for more clarity before engaging in new projects. Recent World Bank analysis shows that in a scenario where investor confidence is shaken and investments drop, every country will feel the negative effects. We need to continue to support trade reforms that can deliver greater shared prosperity. That includes removing trade barriers in areas such as services, agriculture, and e-commerce, and reducing subsidies and other measures that distort trade. The overall aim is to strengthen, as so many have said, the multilateral trading system. China has done this in the past, and the country is committed to continuing its policy of opening up in the future. And this has not been without domestic pain. China's entry into the WTO in 2001 caused significant hardship among workers of state enterprises that were no longer competitive and farmers that faced lower world market prices. But China persisted with opening up and helped those affected with better safety nets, active labor market policies, and lower agricultural taxes and fees. By ensuring that all layers of society gained from opening up, China ensured continued support for the reform program. This is a lesson for everyone. Within countries, policy packages should ensure that trade gains are shared widely. Trade contributes to creating jobs overall, but many people and entire regions can be left behind. With trade, we don't have to choose between inclusiveness and economic growth. When we're working to boost and invigorate trade, those workers and those communities that aren't benefiting from globalization need to be at the front of our minds. Part of this is because the debate about embracing market forces is over. In his speech at Davos in 2017, President Xi talked about another kind of ocean other than the one he described today, the ocean that is China. And he said, and I quote this all the time, "Whether you like it or not, the global economy is the big ocean that you cannot escape from. Any attempt to cut off the flow of capital, technology, products, industries, and people between economies and channel the waters in the ocean back into isolated lakes and creeks is simply not possible." For us, the challenge is to put every country in a position where it can swim in this ocean, where its people have the human capital to compete, and countries have the institutions that make their economies resilient, competitive, and caring. For the international community, here today, I just want to recount briefly a trip that I made just over the last 2 days. I visited Guizhou, and I was specifically taken to Guizhou by the Ministry of Finance because it's one of the poorest provinces in China. Just 5 years ago, the poverty rate was 30%. This year, the poverty rate is 8%, and it went from 30 to 8% through e-commerce. It is a Taobao village. And the development of e-commerce meant that the farmers in Guizhou could now sell kiwi, spicy chicken, and their products all over the world. So increasing access to global markets, increasing access to capital, led to a drop in poverty from 30% to 8%. I was so impressed by that model, I thought, we have to try this, and I spoke with President Kenyatta just yesterday. There are models here of moving from poverty to a new kind of economic activity through trade that will lift people out of poverty. You know, I hope that the discussions at this milestone China International Import Expo will bring new ideas and avenues, just like the ones we saw in Guizhou, to make the global market system work for everyone and the planet, help end extreme poverty, and ensure equality of opportunity for everyone in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Jim, Yong, Kim. Just now we've heard from 7 heads of state and government and 3 heads of international organizations. They've made many insightful observations on promoting economic globalization, strengthening mutually beneficial cooperation for win-win development. As long as we work in a cooperative spirit and continue to build a community with a shared future for mankind, the world will become a better place for us. So now, Excellencies, please proceed to your holding room before we start the pavilion tour. We conclude the opening session. Thank you.